How's it going, everyone? It's Vivi and welcome back to another Ratchet Clank video. So this time, why not discuss the direction Insomniac Games might take with their next Ratchet Clank game? Wait a minute, has another Ratchet Clank game been confirmed? No, nothing like that, but it's highly assumed that they will work on another after the release of Spider-Man PS4, considering the success of their latest Ratchet Clank game, right? Like I've always explained in my past videos, Insomniac Games has thought of the idea of whether the game will be posted into the Nexus or after the PS4 game, the reimagining. Now the point of the video is not to discuss why they should work on a game after Into the Nexus or a game which takes place after the reimagining. No, that's not really the point. I just want to talk more about the type of feel the next game should have. And why am I even saying this? Because Ratchet Clank PS4, it felt watered down, as if the team was aiming for a more kid-friendly experience. The Ratchet Clank games in general, especially the PS2 games, had a more darker tone, with a lot of hidden innuendos. The titles especially. All for one, the team had thought of the name Foreplay in the beginning. Into the Nexus was supposed to be Into the Nether regions. A Crack in Time was apparently supposed to be Clock Blockers. I absolutely loved all of those hidden jokes, and one of my favorites will always be the one on Planet Marcadia in Up Your Arsenal. What happened? Has Insomniac Games given up their old ways? Which is something I much prefer, and perhaps some of you might think the same way. It's not because I'm blinded by nostalgia, but it's because the new game felt different. Like there's something about it that differentiates it from the original series. I'm not talking about the story, just the overall feel of the game. Now I feel like there's a reason for that. Let's get one thing straight. The PS4 game was based on the film's script, right? It's a game attached to the movie. A game which in my opinion poorly promoted the film. Sony relied way too much on the game as being a source of advertisement. Insomniac Games was limited to the film's resources. How Ratchet was portrayed in the film, of course he would be portrayed the same in the game. It's a game following the script. As a fan, I enjoyed the film. I'm not trashing the film. I enjoyed it as a standalone thing. But if I do compare the film to the original game's story, this is when I ask myself, if the movie had followed the original game's direction, could the movie have been better suited for the general audience? Would people have enjoyed the movie a lot more? I feel like Ratchet's personality in the original series was developed a lot better. I kept hearing from people that Insomniac Games apparently wasn't too fond of Ratchet's old personality in the classic game. He was too much of a jerk. Now, I don't know whether or not this is true. I don't know if Insomniac Games has actually said this. I just heard people mentioning this. If this is true, what's so wrong with that? What's so wrong with having a character being a jerk at one point, but then slowly changing and maturing? Why not? What's so wrong with that? I actually liked that. How their friendship hit this bump on the road. Like the first game started off with Ratchet fixing a ship, then he finds Clank, they go into space, Ratchet is so fascinated flying the ship in space. Who would have thought that Ratchet would have turned into a jerk at one point? See, that was unpredictable and that's very good. When a story is too predictable, it's meh. I liked where at a point Ratchet was having doubts about Captain Quark. It's just him being him, right? Ratchet was 17 in the first game. He was developed in a non-generic way. What, is the game purely aimed for kids now? Ratchet shouldn't be a jerk at all? He shouldn't get mad at Clank for doing something stupid? Well, the thing about the new game, Clank was pretty much kept separate in the story. Yeah, let's not get into that, but Ratchet & Clank, it's a game for everyone. Why are they worried that kids will hate the fact that the main protagonist is being a jerk to his pal? They shouldn't even be worried because Ratchet & Clank is not a game aimed purely at kids unless they're planning on making it seem so from now on. So what, Ratchet is being a jerk? It's just a way of developing his character, which I enjoyed. I'm making it sound like Insomniac Games actually came out and said we didn't like Ratchet's personality in Ratchet & Clank 1. Yes, people have been talking about it, but like I said, I haven't found a tweet or anything like that. If you guys can find it, then that'll be great. Character development is a very important aspect in TV shows, movies, and video games. One way Insomniac Games went at it is by having the main protagonist be a complete jerk to his friend. That was their way of introducing that aspect in Ratchet & Clank 1. There's nothing wrong with that, and am I in the wrong to say that the majority of you have preferred that over how he was developed in the reimagining? Would kids even be bothered by the fact that a robot's friend got a bit pissed off? Ratchet & Clank was never aimed at kids, 100%, so why should the developer be worried about that? In the new game, Ratchet has a clear intention of wanting to be a hero. He was pretty much naive in this one. In the old one, he never thought of being a hero until he met Quark. Clank. To keep it short, Ratchet felt way too generic in the reimagining. In the old game, I think Insomniac Games had thought that, hey, let's have the main character get mad at his robot pal for doing something completely stupid. Let's have him act like a jerk for a short while, and have him slowly mature throughout the game. See, I like that formula, how Ratchet and Clank grew this relationship. In the new game, that felt completely absent. Now, if Insomniac Games decides to make a reimagining of Going Commando, with perhaps some elements of Up Your Arsenal, people who disliked the PS4 game will perhaps have doubts about this one. Then again, a sequel to the reimagining, Insomniac Games will no longer be limited. We could be looking at more planets, weapons, higher difficulty. But the question is, will the team go back to their usual route in terms of tone and humor? Seeing as how they were supposed to work on this game called the Nexus, which was supposed to take place after Up Your Arsenal, the whole theme, the whole atmosphere of the game, I think was going to be dark. A similar feeling to the previous games. Looking at this, I feel like Insomniac Games still has it in them. So what I'm gonna tell you guys is, yes, you've played the PS4 game, you probably disliked it, but that was following the movie, so don't worry. What's that hashtag they use for Spider-Man? I think it's in Insomniac we trust, and Insomniac we do trust. So guys, don't worry. I still have hope for the Ratchet & Clank series to follow its old footsteps, which is something I believe the majority of you guys prefer. From Ratchet & Clank 1 to A Crack in Time, while Into the Nexus was a pretty good game. Those games were good, right? If they were able to do so many games, which were critically acclaimed overall, I think they can still do it. Yes, Ratchet & Clank PS4 was a success. Gameplay-wise, it's awesome. Story-wise and character development, that's where people were questioning the game. Okay, maybe the team changed a bit. The people who used to work on the PS2 games are no longer part of the team, but from all the feedback they have and with the amount of passion the team has for this series, I think they can do it. Remember, Ratchet & Clank PS4 was developed within 10 months. The polishing part of the game, it involved just a few workers. Insomniac Games was busy on other titles. I'm not too sure about the budget the PS4 game had, but comparing it to A Crack in Time, you be the judge. A Crack in Time's visuals will always be my favorite, and that game just proves what Insomniac Games is capable of, if given more time. 10 months is incredible, but it's short. Give them 2 years to develop the next Ratchet & Clank game. It's surely going to feel like something like A Crack in Time or Going Commando or Up Your Arsenal, or even perhaps better. So if you're worried about the Ratchet & Clank series becoming too kid-friendly, don't be. Just look back at what they did in the past. Can they go back to that? In my opinion, yes. With the amount of feedback they have, and with no more limited resources, I think they can give fans what they want. Honestly, if the next game, Going Commando, a reimagining, feels like a kid-friendly game, that's when I guess I'll start having doubts. But for now, I still trust Insomniac Games. So with that being said, guys, this is it for the video. So as usual, leave all of your thoughts in the comment section below. By comparing the old game with the new one, what do you feel? Apart from the story, of course. Do you feel like the tone and humor has changed and all? Leave everything in the comments. And as usual, I've been Vivi, and thanks for watching.